But this kid is being taught to be a victim, and I hate the victim mindset. It bugs the crap out of me because I played the victim mindset, and I know the victim mindset is a loser mindset. Got a crazy video for you today. She's not yours, it's just your turn. A woman should be a complement to your life, not the focus. Do the work. Women do not care about your struggles. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners. All right, what's up, my brothers? We got a video today on bullying that I need to cover. I had this video sent to me this morning on this little kid from Australia, a 9-year-old with dwarfism. And I want to talk about bullying because I think we're going about it the wrong way. We're playing too much of the victim mentality and mindset and reinforcing that. Let me just play a clip here. This is about a 7-minute video, so I want to play about half of it just so you can get some frame around what I'm talking about here.
Parents, educators, teachers, this is the effect.
This is a kid, by the way.
This is what bullying does. So can you please educate your children, your families, your friends? Because all it takes is for one more
Put the audio here by the mic.
And you wonder why kids are killing themselves.
Give me a right now. I'm picking up myself in the car.
It's really sad.
You watch me.
I feel bad for this kid.
Even you think, Carolyn, I'm looking at you. You don't even do anything. And Mr. George told me to dump his shit in the class. You want to do it right now. I want to bang my head into the class.
He's talking about banging his head into the car and cutting himself and suicide.
And this is the impact bullying has on a 9-year-old kid that just wants to go to school, get an education, and have fun. But every single freaking day, something happens. Another episode, another bullying, another taunt, another name calling. So is there any advice or support or anything that other
Yeah, I've got advice.
or,
It's not going to be what you want to hear, though.
To help raise disability awareness and education within the school so that this doesn't happen? I've got some good advice, but
Like, look at the poor guy.
I need more because this is the effect of bullying. This is what it's doing. And I want people to know how much it is hurting us as a family. I want people to educate their children. The whole anti-bullying shit isn't fucking working.
I think you get the idea. I mean, she starts swearing in front of the kid and making it all about victim mindset and mentality. I was bullied a lot as a kid, okay? If you're new to the channel, you probably don't know this, but I've got 3rd-degree burns on my neck, my chest, and my arms. There's probably pictures of it on Instagram. You can see posts. I mean, I've done the work in my life to kind of overcome that. But I was bullied a lot. You know, I had buck teeth when I was a kid until I got braces when I was a teenager. They used to call me, what was that film? Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, Scarface, called me Scarface. Some of the other kids, I had a lot of hair back then. I don't have it now, obviously, just shave the head, but they just call me Bloatus because they'd walk around saying that your head was too big, but it was mostly hair anyway. But I got bullied a lot, so I can totally get where this kid's coming from and how he feels. And I've seen people online say he's acting, the kid's father's in jail, blah, 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 and all this thing. But the mindset that the mom is taking, the approach that she's taking, I'm going to get a move on here now that we've seen that. But the approach that she's taking is basically, let's portray my little guy as a victim here. The anti-bullying stuff doesn't work. We need to do something different. You need to teach your kids to stop bullying my kid. We need reform. The principal wouldn't do anything. He won't let me do anything because he goes running to the car crying about it and he wants to kill himself. The world sucks. You're not doing enough. He's a victim. Teach kids to stop bullying, blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the truth of the matter. I mean, I heard the same narrative when I was a kid, too. That was a long time ago, you know. 9 years old was a long time ago for me. That was well over 30 years ago. And it was the same then, and it was the same in my parents' generation and the parents before that. Society does that to weaker people. It doesn't have a lot of patience and tolerance for weakness. We know, generally speaking, on the sexual marketplace, when it comes to attraction, arousal, there's nothing that turns off women more than a weak guy. So I don't subscribe to the victim mindset of let's convince Quaden, or whatever this kid's name is, we'll call him Quaden. Let's convince Quaden that he's a victim and the world is terrible and hostile and abusive, and be a victim. And you see the poor kid cowering. Like, I really feel for him. I did some digging, copied and pasted her name, went into Google and Facebook and all that. Turns out she's a single mom. The father's absent from the family. It looks like there's 3 women in the household, in this household anyway, and the grandfather died recently. So there's a complete absence of masculine energy. There's a complete absence of that. I remember when I went home and I told my parents, I should do a video on this next too, teachers striking. It's exhausting. I remember when my parents took me home one day when I was abused. I was bullied. I was crying about it, and my mom coddled me. Like the standard mommy sort of thing is, we'll coddle the little guy and make him feel better. Hug him sort of thing. We'll coddle him and pat him on the back and bake him a cake or a banana bread or something like that. What my dad told me? He said, stand up for yourself, Richard. He said, if somebody pushes you around, you push them back. If they hit you, you hit them back twice as hard. So I took that advice. I got tired of being pushed around by, these kids in school. And granted, the kid's got dwarfism, so that's a slightly different story. I don't know the extent of his disability, what his strength protocol is, if he can strike or not. But, the next time a kid picked on me, got punched in the face, and I broke his hand. He came to school the next day with a cast. I was grade 5 or 6, so a little bit older. I think it was about 10 or 11 at that time. Nobody ever bothered me again in elementary school. I was never picked on again. Now, that may not be the answer, to this kid's situation. Violence isn't always the answer, but violence can be quite useful when used as a last resort. It's been that way throughout history. We've never ever told anybody throughout history, we'll just crawl into a ball and be a pussy and that'll solve the problem. It doesn't. It doesn't make bullies go away. It just encourages the behavior further. And telling other people that, you're bad because you're a bully and look at this poor victim, that doesn't stop bullying either. It's not successful. It's like literally the war on drugs. That doesn't work either. But we keep reinforcing these retarded social narratives that don't serve kids today. You got to teach boys to be men. And part of the rite of passage, part of the transition into masculinity, into manhood, is dealing with people that are going to push you around. Because there's not always going to be somebody there to stop that. I'm going to the dojo. I mean, this is my 3 times a week routine. I go to the dojo, I train, I learn striking skills, I do boxing, I do Krav Maga, all that sort of stuff. And not because anybody picks on me, but because I know that I need to be lethal. Now, you've got to have the ability to defend yourself or be violent should the need arise. I can do that. Now, it doesn't take much. Even if he's got dwarfism, let's just set that aside for a sec. Even if he's got dwarfism and he's not tall and he may not have, the strength of other kids, there's pressure points in the body that don't require a lot of strength to induce considerable pain. I've learned a lot of them. I was able to punch that kid in the face. Maybe he's not tall enough to do that. Right in the nuts. That'll put a kid down. That he won't bother you again. I mean, you apply 5-10 pounds of pressure to another boy's nuts, he's going down to the ground hard, and he's not going to get up very quick either. And there's not going to be anybody else that's going to jump him. I mean, look at the kid, right? But this kid is being taught to be a victim, and I hate the victim mindset. It bugs the crap out of me because I played the victim mindset, and I know the victim mindset is a loser mindset. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't help you excel at anything in the world. It teaches you to be small and little, and stay put and stay where you are. It teaches you that if you cry wolf, if you cry like a little baby, then somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to swoop in and save you, and that's not true. I know that we like to reinforce that social narrative in society today. We like to tell everybody to be kind and humble, and we bubble wrap our kids, and we helicopter parent, kids. It requires learning how to have a backbone and to stand up for yourself. You want less pussies in the world, then you have to stand up and learn how to be strong and reinforce your backbone in your place. You have to stand your ground, like my dad taught me. And my dad's far from a alpha male. I don't think I would, or any of my friends would even call him an alpha male when I was growing up. But he had, the foresight. I mean, he grew up in a military family, so he had the foresight to know when and how to stand ground and why you should stay on ground. And this poor kid needs to learn that lesson. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get that if there's GoFundMe's being run to raise money to send him to Disneyland. The kid doesn't want to go to Disneyland. There was some stand-up comic that put out this GoFundMe to raise some money to send him to Disney. He doesn't want to go to Disneyland. He wants to put these other kids in their place. He wants to teach them a lesson. He wants to be able to exert himself and be able to stand his ground. That's what's going to feel rewarding to the poor guy, not crying about it or having your mommy post a video about it on social media. That's not the solution to problems like this. It's reinforcing strength, courage, mastery, honor. And for the love of God, I mean, if you've got a kid that doesn't know how to stand up for himself, teach him that. And if you don't have the capacity because you made a bad choice and you're a single mom or you're widowed or your kid's dad's in jail, I don't care what the excuse is. Granddad's not around. Take him to a combat training facility. I don't know if it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, Krav Maga, something where he can learn strike. It doesn't take much to inflict damage on somebody when you know how to do it. I don't know if this is true or not, but the other day my instructor was telling me it doesn't take any more than about 5 pounds of force to rip an ear off somebody's head. Okay, there are places on the body that even somebody that might be at a disadvantage, and he walks. I see that he uses his hands. Again, I don't know the extent of his disability, so I don't want to go too far on this or speculate too far, but he's mobile from what I can tell from the photography and the video. So you can learn those skills. You can learn to stand up for yourself. That's the answer. You stand your ground, you state your purpose, you set a boundary, you draw a perimeter around yourself, and if he violates that, if somebody violates the perimeter that you've drawn, then you knock them the hell out. You teach them a lesson, you let them know that you're not going to be fooled with. You're not going to be bullied. Story might be different with girls versus boys. I'm talking about this boy in this scenario, and there's lots of women that can learn striking skills and how to defend themselves. I think that women get bullied in a slightly different way. They get bullied more in the emotional way rather than the physical space. But from a boy's perspective, there's so much more that can be done than just trying to portray him as a poor little victim. Let's raise a GoFundMe. Last time I had checked online, they'd raised $90,000 to send this kid to Disneyland. And while that might put a Band-Aid on the solution and make him feel good, and mommy can take him there and buy him all kinds of paraphernalia and souvenirs and take pictures by the Hollywood sign and all that sort of stuff. But that's not the solution, man. That's just a Band-Aid. You're just going to raise just another beta pussified male. And we don't need any more of those in the world. We have enough of those right now. We have enough guys today as adults that would have loved to have learned this lesson at a younger age. And I got to tell you, man, I really feel for him. And there's an absence of masculinity, and men and masculinity itself has been demonized. We always hear this term toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just masculinity. I mean, masculinity comes in handy when there's a war. Masculinity comes in handy when there's physical confrontation, when there's strength that's required. So why is it called toxic? Half the time when it's convenient, because you want to disparage men or belittle them or make them seem small because, I don't know, it offends you or something. There's all there's a vast array of narratives that seem to pop up that demonize men and masculinity. And what we need to do is we need to embrace it. We need to celebrate men. We need to celebrate masculinity. And when violence is required, we need to know how to use it as a resource and a tool to execute on it and be thorough and swift with it in the delivery and the decisiveness of it and when you use it. Man, I just get so frustrated seeing this nonsense. Like, we live in an outrage culture where people are encouraged to post these outrageous videos on social media because they got nothing better to do with their time, right? Sign your kid up to a combat sports. Teach them how to do these things. It's not the end of the world if somebody bullies you. It needs to happen. It's a rite of passage. Happened to me. I worked myself through it. I worked it out. Anyway, what do you guys think? Smash the like button. Leave me a comment below. Hey, if you're interested in joining my men's community, these are guys chasing excellence in life, doing the work. There's a link pinned in the top description. Also, check out the channel sponsor, Tactical Soap Company. Guys, we'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you think of this. Peace.